All right, so Golf Clash announced that they're going to do. We got the St. Patrick's Day tournament. This is the 2020 St. Patrick's Day tournament. I'm showing you my notes from the Community Cup, the 2020 Community Cup, and I wanted to. The reason I want to show you is let's look at progression here. This is the beginning of the week. This is me writing down the holes, looking at those little teeny pictures, and figuring out what they're at, and then what holes, what tournaments they've played in, so that I can go find videos of my playlists so I can set up a kind of a preview of where we're at. And then I've got my qualifying notes. So I go through, I just make some basic notes here at the beginning of the week. And then as I start to go through the practice round, I start to make some notes. And then when I go through qualifying, I make some chicken scratches and erase some stuff. And then when the weekend round comes, this was my opening round notes. And I shot really well in the opening round. So I made some slight adjustments here and there, just tweaking the holes a little bit. And then as the weekend went through on the backside, learning from the front, making notes. And so there is a progression. So if I started off at the beginning of the week with this, and I stuck with this for the whole week, or even stuck with this for the whole week, versus what's on my weekend notes, the deal is that this is a progression. You can't start the beginning of the week off with that and end up with those notes. I mean, you've got to progress as you go along here. Let me switch over. I'll cover it up. Hold on one second. Hold on. Hold on. Let's go check out the St. Patrick's Day tournament. So the whole deal there is that this is a progression. And one of the things one of several reasons why I started shooting videos for rookies is because it seems like the community's like, okay, hey, at the beginning of the week, they show some playthroughs and they show some stuff and they say, this is what you do this and you'll do great. And then that's it. That's it. Then they move on to pro, expert, masters, and then on pro and or expert masters, you watch as the week progresses how their notes progress. And they act like, well, like in rookie, you just do this right here at the beginning of the week and you're fine. And that's not how it works. It's no different in rookie than it is in any other thing, that as the week goes on, our notes are going to progress, or we're going to come at that hole a little bit different, or we're going to do the thing. So when I do these walkthroughs, this is not a one and done. This is why I post videos all week long of gameplay, and I post that and I break them up so that if you're looking for, like, you're having a problem on hole number 3, you can go look at hole number 3 and see, as the week progresses. Because sometimes there's always that one hole, like in the Community Cup, hole number 7, all week long. It was just like, I got lucky on it. One time I got a hole in one, but the rest of the time I was just up there, and I just never, there was a rough bump that you could do there that was riskier than hell. And I was not willing to risk my round on that particular rough bump. So, there's always that one hole or those two holes that you may be having problems with. And progressing your game as the week goes on. Whatever you see at the beginning of the week, even on my stuff, like I'm going to do a walkthrough right here, and whatever I do is not going to be, this is not written in stone. So here's what the holes are. So get your pen and paper out. We're going to start our notes. Oh my gosh, we're starting our notes again. Here we go. And I think I have these right. There's one of the holes here. I may change as we go along, but this is what I think it is. Hole number 1 is going to be Drew Moore Links, and it's hole number 2 in Drew Moore Links. It's par 3. Hole number 2 is par 4, and it's Drew Moore Links, and it's hole number 8. Hole number 3 is a par 5, and it's Drew Moore Links, and it's hole number 3. Hole number 4 is going to be Glen Monarch Estates, and it's a par 3, and it's hole number 1. Hole number 5 is going to be Glen Monarch Estates. It's a par 4, and it's hole number 4. That's the one I'm not sure if I have that one right. Hole number 6 is Drew Moore Links. It's a par 5, and it's hole number 6. Hole number 7 is Glen Monarch Estates. It's a par 4, and it's hole number 2. Hole number 8, this is a par 3. It's Glen Monarch Estates, and it's hole number 5. Hole number 9, it's a par 5. It's Glen Monarch Estates, and it's hole number 3. So those are going to be the holes that we're going to be going through this week. So let me go check out. Let's go to Golf Clash Notebook. And they cleaned up, like right after the winter major. They came out and because we were sitting on fall major forever, and then they finally put in the Holiday Hills, the Christmas tournament, the Pacific Cup, the 3rd anniversary, and the touchdown tournament. And they put the winter major in. I don't know why they did that on Sunday, and the holes that were coming out for the Community Cup were already announced at that time when they put it on, and they're all in the thing. I don't know why they didn't put the Community Cup on there, but they've been slacking. So it used to be like around Wednesday or Thursday, sometimes Friday, Golf Clash Notebook could have all of the holes up, and we could just come here and look at them. But all of the holes are in here. These are all holes that are in. So let's go to courses. No, let's go to Drew Moore Links here. We'll do the Drew Moore Links ones first. So my teammates were asking about some of these Drew Moore Links. The Drew Moore Links have only been in one tournament. I don't know which tournament were they in. They were in the Celtic Cup, I think. That's when these holes came out. Celtic Cup. I can't remember how I did in the Celtic Cup. It wasn't bad, but I don't know. These holes are all right. We only played them the one time. I mean, I played them in one-on-one, and I mean, they're not bad. They're just, I don't know. Some of these holes, I don't know. It's one of those things that we only had them in one tournament so far, so I haven't had an opportunity to really kind of fall in love with the holes. So let's go through and take a look at what we got here. So hole number 1 in the 2020 St. Patrick's Day tournament is going to be hole number 2. Hole number 2, and I will tell you right now, if you've been watching my videos for a long time, when I here a year ago, like, because part of it then had a lot of people that were, at that time, the mass majority of my viewers, my goal is to help you. Number one goal is make the weekend every single tournament. That's my number 1 goal. My number 2 goal is to get you into the top 10 every single weekend. And so this top 10 progression, if you're not making weekends, my goal is to get you into the weekend. And if and hopefully I can help you set those shots up so that you can get, when we talk minimum score, like shooting that minimum score, because usually minimum score will always get you into the weekend round. And if you shoot the minimum score in the weekend round, in most brackets, not in all, and especially if it's in one of those really low scoring tournaments, it may be different. But in most tournaments, if you shoot the minimum score, you're looking at a top 20. And so my goal is to get you into this every single time. And one of the things that will help get you into that is never getting a par on a par 3. Never. Never. Underline. We never want to get a par on a par 3. And this par 3 right here is a hole that you can easily end up with a par, because if your ball comes in with any speed and it's on this side of the line, it's very easy. Once it starts rolling off to this fringe area, it's going to end up in the rough. If you get stuck in the fringe or the fairway up there, you need to jump up and down, high five, woohoo, because you got lucky. Typically, if it starts rolling off towards the left, you are going to end up in the rough. And I know when this was in the Celtic Cup, I got on this hole 3 times in a row and ended up on that side over there. The deal is that, like, on these holes, the way to do it is to backspin it. Just get up there and backspin it on. If you're trying to get aggressive with the hole, the area that you backspin is over here. And this is with a long iron. So the deal here is let's say you've got lower developed clubs. You may not have your Saturn up to the point where you can do lots of backspin. And even when it's maxed out, I think it only has like 92 or 90. It's not 100%. I think it's 92. So when you're trying to do it, what you end up being either on the fairway here or on the fringe. And so it slopes up. So it comes like this, and then here's the green. And so you're engaging it on the hill face. And so it's really easy to get this, to make a bad wind adjustment or to get it wrong left or the right. And then all of a sudden you're going off in this trajectory. And once you get off on a left-hand trajectory, you're in the rough. And so it's brutal. The safe way to come here is to come down here and then to bring it up. And I have not fully figured this out. This is going to be a hole this week that I'm going to really focus on, because this is the second time it's been in a tournament. And I've had an opportunity to play it in one-on-one. I've had pretty good success in one-on-one, but in one-on-one, I played this a lot with my teammates, and on one-on-one, I've done dunks on it. And just coming out and messing around and not going for it. One of the things I do have in my bag now, that because I think this came out before the club upgrade, the club buffs and the prism chest, before we could start putting stuff into our cards, is with the changes to the Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper, if you got it to level 6, A level 6 Grim Reaper has 100% backspin. And it's more accurate than a maxed out Saturn. And I think the ball guide's like 1 point lower. It's like 3.6 to 3 or 3.8 to 3.9. It's got a little teeny bit less back or ball guide, but not measurable. But this 100% backspin is awesome because you may be able to start up on the green and go straight towards the cup. So this is one of those holes that if you want to, typically if there's a hole like this, a par 3 that you're having issues with, the best way to come at it is to bring a backspin club and stick it to the cup. Your chances of getting a hole-in-one when you're trying to do those backspin shots in most cases is diminished, but your chances of getting a birdie are really high. And I do not want to take, I know there's going to be a bunch of people getting hole-in-ones on this. I mean, it's not going to be like the super hole-in-one hole where it's got some funnel and you can do the thing, but people are going to get hole-in-ones on here. But I will bet you money that more people will end up in the rough down here than will get hole-in-ones because they're going to get super aggressive with it. And if you don't have it all right, you're going to end up down there. So as the week goes on, I'm going to see what I can get done as far as the backspin shot so I have that shot in my bag. And then once I make sure that that shot is viable, and even if it's I have to come over, even if it's with backspin where I have to come over into this area and backspin it to the right of the cup and then make a putt, I want to have this backspin shot in my bag. Once I make sure that I've got what it takes to get the backspin shot done, then I'm going to explore in the practice round these shots from out here and get my teammates involved and get them shooting it so we can see like what needs to be done here as far as like wind adjustment and really kind of this will be the par 3 that I'm really going to focus on this week because like I said, it's only been in one tournament and I want to see if we can get this hole a little bit better. But I want to have 2 ways to come at it. I want to see what my backspin option is so that I can just try and like get up there. And like I said, even if I'm starting off a little bit to the right where I'm going to end up to the right, I got to putt, make it in, and I have 0 chance of hole-in-one, but I have a 100% chance of birdie. I want to try and set this up so that I can make sure that I have one shot in my bag that if I have any problems at all on this hole, the next time I get to it, I can guarantee myself a birdie. But I am going to work on the shot back here and see what my options are and what club options. I think the last time I came here, I used a Saturn and a Katana. And I'm not sure from back in distance. Now, another club that I have in my bag since this hole came out is the Grizzly. And the Grizzly's got 100% accuracy, really good ball guide, has some backspin. And so to see what my options are on this hole. But this is a hole right here that I'm going to be working on. This is a hole that I'm going to be working on all week because I want to see what I can do to improve my odds of getting a hole-in-one. But if I find that I'm having any problems on it or ending up down in the rough, I definitely want to have that backspin shot in my bag. Hole number 2 is going to be Drew Moore Links hole number 8. This is a par 4. Now, okay, here's the deal on this par 4. This is another hole that I'm going to be working on all week. And this hole right here, like when we talk about holes that I focus on, there's a lot of players, a lot of Hammer and Hank, if any of you guys watch Hammer and Hank's channel, Hammer and Hank will have numbers for, and if you use the Golf Clash Notebook app, you definitely want to pay attention to what Hank's doing for adjustments because he's got, and he'll have these adjustments to the cup, all this stuff going on like right at the beginning of the week, especially on the par 3s. His focus is like getting hole-in-one on these par 3s. My focus is I want to get eagles on these par 4s. And because the par 3s to me are like the gravy. You can't count, I do not count on a hole-in-one. If my whole round is like, hey, I could win this tournament if I can get hole-in-ones, then I'm screwed. I want to be, I'm not the guy that I want to hit hole-in-ones on par 3s and I want to try and do them, but these par 4s are where this is where in my mind the rubber meets the road is if you're the guy that can go out there and on these par 4s you can get eagles consistently. And there's several different things that we can do here. I posted a video. There's a playlist at the end. I'll post this at the top, and then there's a playlist that has holes from previous tournaments so that you can go watch those. And on the very last hole, hole number 9, I put in 2. I put in the very first time I got, when we were practicing, I think we were practicing for the Glenmonarch Estates, the 9-hole cup. And it was the first time I got there. And it's the first time I played the hole in forever. And and that was like the perfect deal. And then I posted another shot, which was hole number 9 of the weekend round in the Glenmark Estates. And on that one, I ended up short on the drive, and I had to scramble, and I ended up with a very similar result, so that you could kind of see, like, if you end up a little bit short, don't lose heart. You're going to have to scramble a little bit, but you can still get up there and get that eagle and get right off the green. So I posted 2 of them. And if you're not a viewer, I'm like 9 viewers short of 600. I was trying to get enough during the Community Cup to get to 600, and we just ended up 9 viewers short. So if you're out there and if you like the content and you're not a subscriber, like, it used to be 52% of my viewers were not subscribers and 48 were. And now we've flipped that around, and I've got 52% of my viewers are subscribers and 48% aren't. So if we can get the 48% that aren't watching the channel and subscribing to the channel, I could probably go, instead of 600 this week, I could probably be at 800 this week. So if you're watching and you like the content, please hit subscribe. So on this hole right here in the playthrough, I came at it with a big topper and a Titan. And I took the wind off, and it's all about, here's the first bounce. And I did a max overpower shot. Here's the first bounce, and it's all about this second bounce. So it's like looking at where that second bounce is, so that I could get my second. You have to hit in the fairway on your second bounce, so that you're bouncing from this fairway over to this fairway. And then and what I'm trying to do is get my third bounce in this fairway, so that my fourth bounce is probably going to end up in the rough, and then try and get enough forward momentum that it bleeds through, and I end up right here on the other side. So I've got a short little chip. It's probably easier for you to set this shot up. Well, I don't think it's easy either way, but you might be able to set it up a little bit easier, so that you end up on this, and then you would have a wedge coming in, or you can lay it up here and more than likely have a short iron. Consistency wise, if you're in this spot down here, like with my lower developed account, I'm going to be shooting for this spot, this spot, this spot, this spot, this spot. That way I can practice this short iron shot over and over and over and over and over. So by the time the weekend round comes, I'm going to know what this shot's doing. I'm going to know that, hey, I need to add on 10%, or I'm going to need to make an adjustment, or I'm going to need to be on the right-hand side of the cup, or whatever it happens to be, because I've taken this shot over and over again. But I am going to continue to explore the getting on up here. And so I'm on in one, and I'm just taking either a short pitch or I'm taking a putt. And more than likely it'll be a short little pitch from right here. The deal is if you can get over here, okay, when we talk risk versus reward, the reward is if you can get over here and you miss this next shot, this green's pretty flat. If you get over here and you miss it, you shank that shot. If you get over on this side, it's not guaranteed, but you've got a serious chance of putting that thing in the hole and getting an eagle. If you're here, if you can hit perfect, and once you get that shot dialed in, you still have a great shot at hitting eagle. Okay? So it's the same thing here. You'll probably get away over here with a great to the left or the right and a perfect. That's one of the benefits of trying to get close. Whereas if you're out here or if you're on the island, you'll have to shoot perfect in order to get it into the cup. But as the week goes on, and another thing that's different in this tournament is now that we're on these holes, the extra mile nine's out, and I have an extra mile 9 instead of a big topper. And seeing, I brought a Titan on this hole, and you can bring a Kingmaker because I took the wind out just to cut the wind down a little bit, where an extra mile puts me as far as my second bounce, and seeing what my options are. So I'm going to start off the week with a big topper and an extra mile and see where it goes. If you may be able to get done with an extra mile 8, but if you got an extra mile 8, you probably, as far as bounces go, because the deal is you could probably get out here with an extra mile 8. It's the forward. It's hard to stick it on this island unless you do a little rough bump right here, and then you just bleed out onto the island. And if I was trying to land on this island, I would definitely do it by doing a rough bump, because I think you may end up on the back side of it over here, or closer to the back side than the front. But I think that's a more consistent way to try and get out there, as opposed to trying to get your topspin, backspin right, so that you're bouncing here and then bouncing over here and then trying to stick it. I think that's going to be super difficult. So if you want to land on this, I would pursue doing a rough bump right here. And you probably need to have your other bounce about here, so you won't need to get that far. Getting a bounce here and then getting into the rough and then having enough topspin that you can bleed out into this area. And I will tell you, this is a great shot. And so this week, this is another hole. This hole right here will be my number one focus this week. because this is a par 4 that we can win and we can get that eagle. This will be my number one focus hole for the week because I definitely want to see what my options are here to improve my odds of getting an eagle. And I may find that in the video I showed, I did get over here, but it is difficult to get over here. I think I only did it once that week. But I think getting on this island would be much easier with the rough bump. So we got some work to do on this hole as well. So this is a hole that you have some options at. Now, you'll notice that everything I talked about was over here. And I acted like this side of the green, this wasn't here at all. And that's because if you're going to try and get up here to the front and you're trying to get distance up here, I would rather just try and get on, because there's a ridge. You can see there's a ridge that runs right along in this area right here, and everything on this side of the ridge falls down. Let's draw that up. You can see this little ridge, and everything over here falls down this way, and everything over here feeds this way. So if you come in on your drive and you crest that ridge and you're going in a left-hand direction, even with some curl, your chances of bleeding off are real high, and I see a lot of people ending up in the rough over here. Or conversely, if you get on this side of the ridge and you're too low, as it starts to come around the corner, it feeds it right into the rough down here, and you'll see a lot of people end up in the rough over here and a lot of people in the rough on this side. And the deal is if I'm going to end up in the rough and I'm taking that technical of a shot because of this ridge to try and get myself up here to take this, I would rather go for the island or go for the one, get on and one. So to me, this side over here, while there is a shot that we can take over there, to me, that's not a shot that I'm going either straight at it to get on and one, or I'm going to try and work my way to get on this island. Because number one, I think it's easier to get on this island and consistently get on this island than it is to try and get out here in the front. Just my opinion. All right, that was hole number, what was that? Hole number 2. Okay, hole number 3 is a par 5. It's Drew Moore Links. It's hole number 3. Da-da-da-da. All right, this hole, QB. Power 3 ball. Now, if you've got if you have power 4 balls, you could use them. But with a QB, if you've got an upper developed QB, so if you have, and it's all about curl. So the top spin does affect where how much forward distance you can get out here. So if you have a lower developed QB, you will be lacking a little bit of distance out here. So you may need to bring on the second shot a driver or a wood that's got more raw distance, like a Guardian or like a big dog. But if you have a QB and it's upper developed, with max curl, 5 rings off of this transitional surface, and you could go probably as far as 6, and you'd be fine. And you may take the shot a few times with your club and setup, and then you're going to be anywhere, depending on the level of your QB and how much curl it has. You're going to be anywhere from 3 to 5 rings off of this transitional surface. Your ball guide's going to be going out in this direction. Your opponent's going to think you're batshit crazy, because let's see if we can get any smaller. That's about as small as we can get it. So you're coming off, you're 5 rings off, and so your ball guide's going out here, and you're off like this, and your opponent's thinking you're crazy. You got maximum right hand side spin, maximum topspin on whatever club you have. I'm using a Titan. Maximum curl, no overpower, no hook. Just trying to do a max curl shot, and you'll bleed right down the center of this fairway. And that's the goal, is to try and get as far as you can up this fairway, somewhere in the 345 to 350 range is kind of like ideal. Because if you bring a Guardian, which is I was bringing as my secondary club here, 345 to 350. If you end up out in this area here, this area at 345 to 350, then you can engage with your Guardian on the other side of the sand. So all of this stuff is out of play, and you've got a little teeny window right here. So if you've got a lower developed Guardian and you don't have enough raw distance, a big dog will work fine. And you're not having to use, I was using with my Guardian, I was using somewhere in the neighborhood of about 2.5 backspin, depending on how much forward distance you get. So with your big dog, you're going to come in here and you're not going to have very good ball guide, but it doesn't take a lot of backspin. It only takes about 2.5. If you're a little farther up, maybe 3 backspin. And that's something that you'll have to adjust as the week goes on. So if you've got lower developed stuff, with my lower developed count, it's going to be QB Big Dog, and with my upper developed account, it's going to be QB Guardian, because you don't need, you're using some backspin, so that topspin doesn't matter. The Sniper is a little short. So what happens is that you're a little short and you can't get into this spot, so you're having to come at it from the side. And it's hard from this area. If we draw a straight line, you've got to cover this gap with side spin. And so definitely bring a 3 side spin ball, or conversely, if you've got a lower developed QB, you could help yourself out. It's not going to necessarily help you out on the drive unless you can get into this area with your driver. If you can reach this fairway with your driver and you've got a 100% accurate club, it's good. The extra mile is not a great club for this, because if you can reach here and your ball guide's going out in this direction, you got to cover this gap. And extra mile doesn't have a lot of curl. So what you'd have to do is put a lot of backspin on it in order to keep it from rolling out, and then that defeats the purpose. That keeps you short down here. An Apocalypse would work great on this hole. But a QB can get it done from out here, and it's a setup shot. It's almost like once you figure out how many rings off to be with your QB, you can set it 3.5 rings off, take the wind out, max curl, maximum right-hand side spin, maximum top spin, take the shot, and bam, you're in the middle of the fairway. And then coming at it on the other side, if you want to bring your Sniper, you'd probably have to bring a bigger power ball, like a 4 power ball. So you'll have to adjust your setup to get out into this area. But if you had a Sniper and a 4 power ball, you can engage in front, and then you'll have a little bit better ball guide to get to the cup. And so you could go either way: 3 power ball and a Guardian, 4 power ball and a Sniper. If you've got lower developed stuff, I think you could probably save your 4 power ball, bring your Big Dog, and end up in this area and just go at it. I have hit some albies on this hole. I'm not sure that it's ever going to be like a super high percentage albie hole, but you do have a serious look at albie here. And so we want to work this as the week goes on. And at the beginning of the week, the way it works for me with my stuff is I'm always focused on the drive. I want to know what club, what ball, and what secondary club I need, and what kind of distance I'm getting. Like, I'm working really hard to get myself out into this spot. And what is it? What kind of look is it giving me? Because you might get up there and go, you know what, it's better if I'm back here, or it would be a lot better if I could just get a little bit more distance. So like, how do I get that more distance? So, trying to figure out in the practice round what clubs and what ball you're going to bring, and then start really trying to work towards getting it to the cup. Hole number 3. Okay, hole number 4. Now we're in the Glen Monarch, and I like Glen Monarch. These Glen Monarch holes have been around since the beginning of the game, and I've played these holes a ton. I can't remember what tour they were in when I first started playing, when the game was brand new. I can't remember tour 4, tour 5. I can't remember where the Glen Monarch holes were, but I love these holes. And there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 Glen Monarch holes here. And these are all holes that we need to focus on, these Glen Monarch holes, because these are holes that we can win. So the Glen Monarch holes were in, we had the Glen Monarch Estates 9-hole cup. And in that 9-hole cup on these holes, I shot a -14 and won that 9-hole cup. And there's some of these holes that we got some great chances on this. And there's one of the holes here that these Glen Monarch holes that I definitely have a shot that can help the whole team out. Everybody who watches my channel, if there's other people in other places that aren't doing that shot, there is one of the par 5s that we can get. So this hole right here, I'm taking the white line, and the white line is a rough bump. And you can bounce over from here and do this. There is a wind adjustment that we need to make if we're over here. There is which hole is this? That's a 10% wind adjustment. So if we're on this hole, there is a 10% wind adjustment that we're going to make. And the bounce over shot is not, like in one-on-one. And one-on-one you may take, and Dale Appleby's another great streamer. Dale's got, when one-on-one he does the same thing as me. It's fairway to green, but he'll also go out there and do crazy shots and show you how to do max overpower hooks. And I'll talk about Dale more here in a little bit, because we're going to do some max overpower hooks in this tournament. So on this hole right here, you can do the yellow line. And from the back tees, you may have to do the yellow line. It just depends on the clubs in your bag. But the way you want to always come at this hole, if you can, is always do the rough bump. There is a killer rough bump right here, and it's with your sniper. So it'll be with whatever wood, whatever the best wood that you have in your bag that's got that best ball guide. And so my setup on this sniper is it's 1.2 per ring. So that's kind of like mid club, a 10% wind adjustment, one backspin, no side spin with a navigator. And so if you've got any low wind, one power ball, you can use it. And I don't think that unless they sell some this week, I don't have any one power low wind balls. So I'll be using a navigator all week. So a sniper navigator, 1.2 per ring, 10% wind adjustment, one backspin, no side spin. And we're doing the rough bump right here. And you have a serious look at hole in one. Serious look at hole in one. If you can hit that thing perfect, the deal is if you hit it perfect and the wind's blowing in this direction, it'll probably be one of those things that we'll need to set up on this side of the cup. So we'll need to set up on the side of the cup that the wind's coming from. So if we have a hole here and here's the flagpole and the wind's going in this direction, we may need to set it up on this side of the cup and make our wind adjustment and then let the wind do its thing and then move us back to the hole. So if you're coming here and you're hitting perfect and you're finding you're just on the edge, it'll more than likely be on the opposite side of the wind. And so make sure that you set up here. And I've noticed that sometimes in the weekend rounds, like we come to these holes and it's like we've been tagging hole-in-ones all week. And then we get on this hole in the weekend round and all of a sudden now we're on the edge of the cup. That sometimes in the weekend round, like if let's say just for easy math, let's say we had a 1.2 wind and we're doing 1.2 per ring. So that would be a one ring pull. And we started on this edge of the cup, that we would actually pull at 1.1. We pull it just a little sliver over the one. Sometimes in the weekend round, I don't know, they just change it a little bit, or the winds, or it's just something different, or the wind's blowing us. It's just one of those things that sometimes if you find yourself just barely missing on the other side, start off on the other side, closest to the wind, and see where you're at. And sometimes you have to add on a 0.1 or a 0.2. But this is an excellent hole for a hole-in-one. And we have a serious chance of getting hole-in-one here, and it's a pretty straightforward setup shot. And if we get headwind here, typically they've given us, we haven't had headwind here. Typically they give us kind of like a tail side wind, but if we do get headwind here, we'll just have to make adjustments as the week goes on. But we have a serious look at hole-in-one here. Hole number 5 is going to be Glen Monarch, and it's hole number 4. Let's see if I got this one right. This is the one. Yes. Okay. Par 4. My focus is always trying to set ourselves up to get the best opportunity to get eagle on a par 4. And you can go either the yellow or the white line, but I prefer the yellow line. And the reason I prefer the yellow line is that the spot that you're at here, when you're coming up to the green, here's the green. And when you're coming at it from this angle right here, the flagpoles, where you're out on the flagpole, you can run that up there. Now I'm taking this in shot with a Hornet and I'm trying to get a minimum club, so I'm having to put a little bit of backspin because my red line's right here. But I can go straight to the cup, and I'm not putting on the backspin so I can get to the cup. It's just about the red line. If I had a little bit more room on my red line, I could use less backspin. When you're coming at it from this angle on the white line, there is a little bit of a slope here, but I find that on this side here on the white line, you have to have some backspin. It seems like, and the slope, and the hole wants to kind of slope down a little bit, and you've got to have a little bit of backspin. So here's how this works. This is one of those holes that it may be all dependent on which way the wind blows. So if the wind is blowing in this direction, when we're taking our drive, we're hitting against the side wind, but when we get up here and we're going to the cup, we've got a tailwind. That wind's helping us. The wind may be blowing in this direction, and that means when we're taking our drive, we're hitting up against the side wind, but when we're coming into the cup, we've got a tailwind. That benefits this shot. But I do think that if you're taking the white line to get over here to come up at the cup, that it's a little tougher. Now, there is also a shot, and I may take this shot several times because, once again, extra mile 9, for those of you that have an extra mile 9, or we're getting a lot of people because of the club card trading that have APOC 5s now, with the extra distance and the extra topspin that you have, there is a shot with a power 5 ball to get on and one. In the past, it has been an inconsistent shot. So you could get up there. And so maybe 1 in 3 you're on the green, and then the other time you're in the rough, and the other time you're in the sand. And so there is a shot that you can get up there with a big club and a power 5 ball, and you can get on in one. And like the other par 4 that we looked at, it's worth looking at. But I will tell you, just like on the other one where we talk about, consistency, taking this shot over and over and over and over and over again and getting it dialed in, that this shot from right here with your Hornet is money. And you can get that shot in the hole. So on this hole right here, I'm taking an extra mile on a Titan. If you're taking the shot to come up into this area right here, I'm using an EM, a Titan, and you could use a Kingmaker just to cut the wind down. And I'm using a 3 power ball because on the second, even though you could get up here with a Marlin, I'm using a 3 power ball because on the second shot to come in, I want my red line I want to be in my minimum short iron. So if you bring a 2 power ball or a 1 power ball or a 0 power ball, you're going to be like mid club, max club versus minimum club, and it's 100% more accurate at minimum. So I'm bringing a 3 power ball, and you can bring a Kingmaker, cut the wind down, help yourself out. I'm using 1.5 topspin max, and even that might be a little bit too much as far as bleeding yourself into this fairway, this rough area right here. I'm doing a little teeny bit of curl on the shot just to get it to come around to eke a little closer, but not a lot of curl. It's not a max curl. It's just a little curl. Max on right hand side spin, 10% plus 10% on the drive, and then on the shot going in with the Hornet, I can't remember on that shot. I think I might have been doing the plus 10% on the shot going in. I think the shot that I posted in the walkthrough in the videos below this or on this hole, I think I might have did a 10%. I think I did do a 10% adjustment to the cup. We have a serious chance of getting eagle here, and there is a shot to get on, and I will explore that as the week goes on and see if I can standardize it. The deal is that if you get up there, everybody goes, yeah, I got up there, man. Look at this shot. You should do this shot. Okay, I want you to take that shot 4 times, and let's see how many times out of 4 you get up there. Because if you can get on that thing and 4 times doing that shot, then hey, let's start looking at that shot. But if you went out there and you shot it 4 times and you only got on once, that one time is not that's not the shot. I want to take this shot right here. So that's why on that first par 4, what I'm saying is that you're better off probably just putting yourself into the short iron range and taking that shot every time. For consistency wise, that's the way to go. But you have a serious chance at eagle here, and we'll have to see which way the wind's blowing. But I do like the yellow line better. All right, that was Glen Monarch. Hole number 5. Hole number 6. Hole number 6 is Drew Moore Links, and it is hole number 6. Da-da-da-da. All right, this is the hole here you can get in a lot of trouble in too. And here's the problem with this hole, is that you get in trouble right here. I mean, look at these fairways. They're massive. I mean, you could drive a tank out here and it'd take you an hour to get to the rough from the middle of the fairway. They're massive, except for this spot right here. And we are hitting our drive right through the middle of this spot. So to try and bleed ourselves out into this area. There is a shot from down here, but I'll tell you the problem with this shot from down here is when you're coming into the green, you're doing this. The best way to do this is not to try and hit on this fairway, because if you hit on that fairway, look at your angles here. You're trying to cover this angle. That's a pretty steep angle, like right at the very last second. So if you come out to, if you want to, and this is a shot that you can explore, especially for those of you, that like rough bumps, is you can come out into this area right here and you can do a rough bump right here and try and bleed it up to the hole. But you definitely want a club or definitely want a ball that's got side spin. So a Kingmaker, or if you're bringing a power 4 ball, some ball that has at least 3 side spin. And they don't have any 4 side spin balls, so at least 3 side spin. Which cracks me up because there's not a lot of holes. Like if you have a ball that has 3 side spin and you're using max top spin, a lot of times you can't utilize the whole 3 tops or 3 side spin because you get to a point where it kind of balances out. So you can't do it. But there are some holes that we're not using a lot of top spin, maybe only 1 or 2 top spin, and we're using maximum side spin, that it would be helpful if we had a 4 side spin ball. Like they wouldn't always be useful, but there are some holes out there that I would love to have some 3 power, some 2 power, 4 side spin balls, because they're holes that I'm not using max top spin, but I am using max side spin, and sometimes 3 just just barely is enough. And they have low wind balls and they have big power balls. I'm always been surprised that they haven't come out with a 4 side spin ball. Maybe they will. And like I said, it's not going to be one of those balls that's super, like every hole it's like a useful one, but there are a lot of holes out there that I can think of where the 4 side spin wouldn't be bad. So if you end up out in this area right here, you can come at it with a sniper. So I was using a Big Tapa, a Titan, trying to get out here at about 400 yards. I was using a sniper, and even though I'm at mid club in my sniper, I'm using, and I should be using a 1.2 per ring, I was doing a 1 per ring adjustment with no extra wind. And I'm sure that this week we're going to see where they're going, hey, you need to add on 10% or you need to add on 20%. Okay, and it always cracks me up because when they post that stuff, they never post on there that, hey, you're at max club, use a max club adjustment and then add on 20%. Or are they saying, hey, you're at mid club and you should add on 20%. Well, guess what? If you have a 100% accurate club, okay, let's do the math. You have a 100% accurate club and the wind is blowing 1.2 miles per hour. Hold on. If it was blowing 1.2 miles per hour, how would that work out? So if you do the 1.2, you're adding on 20%, right? Right? Or adding on 20%. So instead of doing my mid club, I'm doing my max number and I'm not adding on any wind. I will always try, and I know that this like I know you guys are probably think I'm crazy, but I will always try to use a 100% accurate club anytime I can to come into the cup because it's 1 per ring. And so if you add on wind or you do whatever it is that you're doing to the wind and you come up with 3.62 and you have a 1 per ring club, 100% accurate, how many rings do you move it? 3.62. And so I will always try and figure out how to keep this at 1 per ring. In the last tournament, there was one of the holes people were doing like a max adjustment and adding on 10% or doing mid adjustment and adding on this, and they had all of these things. I kept it at 1 per ring and I was taking off 25% of the wind because it kept me at 1 per ring. And 1 per ring is super easy if you're doing paper math. If you're using the app's going to do all that work for you. But if you're doing the math in your head and you've got a 3.2 and you're taking off 10, that's 0.32, or you're adding on 10, that's 0.32, and then you're doing the math in your head. You did an equation, okay? You did an equation, and now you've got a number, and you got 3.62, and you're at 1.2 per ring. So that would be 3 rings and a little. 1.2 times 3 is 3.6. So you got to do that math as opposed to going, hey, it's 1 per ring, it's 3.62. You don't have to do another equation. So if I can, I always like to stick with the 1 per ring, and then I will work it around. Instead of going, okay, I'm going to be at mid club. Sometimes I will change off of that, and sometimes I will stick with it, but I try and always stick with it. There's another hole that we talked about earlier where I was doing 1.2, hole number 4, that Glen Monarch hole. And that's because we haven't shot that Glen Monarch in a while. And when I get on that hole, I may convert that over and figure out like what would I need to do if I just wanted to stay at 1 per ring and work that number. So we're trying to get out into this area, and we're trying to get in our sniper and take it home. And we have a serious Albie look here. There is a serious Albie look here if you're coming into it with a club that's got great ball guide. The accuracy you can work around, but the ball guide, the deal about accuracy, here's the thing about accuracy. Here's the cup, here's the flag, and you're going straight at the hole, and you hit perfect, bam, you're in the hole. If it's a 100% accurate club and you hit it 1 ring great to the left, your 1 ring great to the left, which is 1 mile per hour, which think about how wide your ring is. It's not very wide. You're right there, right off the cup. You hit it great to the right, bam, you're right there. I mean, you just missed. I mean, you're just on either side of the cup. If your club is 2.5 accurate and you hit it great to the left, you're 2.5 rings or miles per hour off of the cup. So that means you're 2.5 times the distance that you were on that great to the left with a sniper to the left, and you're way off on the cup. And so some of these holes, especially these holes where like if you're on one side or the other, it drops off and you're in big, big trouble. Man, I don't want to have to, I don't want to, if I can avoid it, I don't want to have to take a inaccurate club on there. I much rather come with a really accurate club, because if I don't hit it perfect and hit it great to the left or the right, I'm just a little bit off the cup, great to the left or the right. So trying to come in here with your sniper, if you've got lower developed clubs, you'll probably end up bringing a Viper, but it won't take, because we're engaging, what did I put on my notes here? I don't think that we're engaging that much stuff on that sniper. So if you've got like a level, probably like a level 3 sniper, you can probably, the thing with the level 3 snipers, you only have 160 base distance. So you might suffer a little bit for distance. So you may want to bring out a 4 power ball. And I know if you bring out a bigger power ball and you get out into this area, you've got a really nice shot. I think you can actually get out here into your long iron range. And I think we came out here in the last time this was in a tournament, or the only time it was in a tournament. Towards the end, I think I did come out here a couple times to practice with a bigger power ball, but I think my inventory was low. So I stuck with a 3 power ball on this just to get me out here and coming out with my sniper. We got options. And if you're going to the left-hand side, and try that shot, go out there and try that shot so you see what the deal is, because you may get on this hole in one-on-one, or you may get out there on this hole and something happens. And try that shot out here. But I think the way to come into it is to do the rough bump, not to try and get out here on this fairway and bleed it over. I saw somebody do that rough bump one day, and it looked really good. Hole number 7 is Glen Monarch Estates, hole number 2. All right. Is that right? No. I think we already looked at this hole. That was hole number 2. Hold on one second. Let me go. Let's go look at that hole. What freaking hole is this? This is the hole I got wrong. Hole number 2. Or did I put this in the thing? Hole number 2, Glen Monarch Estates. This is hole number 7. No. Okay, that's the one. It's a par 4. Let's go look at these. Oh yeah, that's because I was looking at Drew Moore Links instead of Glen Monarch. There we go. That would explain it. That would be the problem. Okay. What do I focus on? I focus on par 4s. And this par 4 is one of those deals. If you can get up into this area, you're short iron into the cup. I'm doing a plus 10%. I was doing plus 10 on the drive and plus 10 on the shot going into the cup. Actually, I think I might have been excuse me, I got that wrong. I think I was doing plus 10 on the drive and I was doing minus 10 on the shot to the cup. Because the cup's up here. The tee box is up here. Where we're hitting on our drive is down here. So we're hitting downhill. So I'm taking a little bit off, but when we get on the drive, we're hitting uphill. And so I was putting on a little bit for this shot and taking off a little bit for the second shot. But you have a great shot with a short iron here. And once again, it's one of those minimum type short iron shots if you can get up here into the area. So with the Kingmaker, I was using an Extra Mile and a Kingmaker, or a Titan, either one will work. Slight little bit of curl. And you have to do a slight bit of curl because your ball guide's going off in this direction right here, and you're kind of right along the transition here between the rough and the fairway. And your bounce is out in the fairway. So you're out in this area right here where your bounce is, and you're aiming off in this direction. So you need to put a little bit of curl just to push you off into the center out here. But if you put on too much curl because your ball's coming in at this trajectory to get over here, if you put on a little bit too much curl, it's very easy to clip this rough and you'll just bleed out. You still got a great shot from there, but the idea is to get out into this zone right here. So when you put that little bit of curl on it, you need to put on just a little bit of curl. And if there's any one of these par 4s that we absolutely have to hit the drive perfect, this is one that we want. We've got such a narrow neck here that we're hitting into, and we're hitting on it at the diagonal. So to try and straighten this out so that your ball goes down the center, you really want to hit this shot perfect. So Extra Mile, Kingmaker, Titan, slight bit of curl. Hornet, minus 10 to the cup is what I'm going to start my week off at, and then we'll see where we're at as far as adjustment. But all 3 of the par 4s that are in this tournament are eagleable, and 2 of the 3 par 3s are hole-in-oneable. So it's really important that we try and get eagles on those par 4s. And if we can pick up hole-in-ones on those 2 par 3s, that's just gravy, because a lot of people are not gonna set themselves up right on these par 4s, and we have a serious opportunity. Okay, hole number 8 is Glen Monarch. It's par 3. It's hole number 5. And this is another one. This one has a funnel. And there is, for those of you who like rough bumps, the middle par 3 and this par 3 right here, there is a rough bump that you can do right here, coming straight at the cup. And this is one of those cups. I like to start with my white rings. I'm using a Sniper and a Marlin. So if you got a low wind, 0 power ball, I start up with my white rings wedged up on this rough. So they're wedged up here and they're wedged up here. And I think by the time I end up wiggling around and dialing it up, it's a little bit to the right, like the white ring's a little bit into the rough and there's a little bit of gap over here. But that's where I start so that I can make my adjustment real quick, set it up in that spot, and then I can adjust it to the cup. I was using 1.0 per ring, wedging the white rings in, 1.0 per ring with plus 10%. And I think I was only using just like a little teeny bit of topspin. I'll have to go back and watch that video, but it was like very little. And the way that this hole works, because it flows down here and it flows down here, and there's a trough that goes in the middle. And if you can catch that trough, it'll feed you towards the cup. If you hit it great to the right, the way that it engages here, it'll actually end up coming in on this, and then this slope will push it to the left. And if you hit it great to the left, it'll engage this and it'll slope over like this. So this is one of those holes that traditionally, if you set it up right and you hit it great to the left, it's going to go great to the left. This is one of those holes that if you hit it great to the left, it's probably going to end up on the right-hand side of the cup. And if you hit it great to the right, it's probably going to end up on the right-hand side of the cup. And because of that, if you're right on the edge of that trough, this is one of those holes that you could hit a great to the left or the right and still end up in the cup because it's got a trough. It's all about speed. And so this is definitely a hole that we have hole-in-one opportunities on. And it doesn't matter if you have lower or upper developed clubs. I'm going to be doing this rough bump and not the bounce over. There is a shot that you can do from here and you can bounce it over, but that is not my cup of tea. The other way, there is another way that you can go at this hole. There's 3 ways that you can go at it. You can bounce it over from here and try and get it up. You can do the rough bump, or you can bring a Guardian and engage this green right here and try and stick it to the cup. And if you do the Guardian shot, you're kind of avoiding this little slope stuff here, and you're getting it more up towards the cup. So the deal with the Guardian is that you're not really engaging the trough. So you have to have it absolutely perfect to the cup in order for it to go in. Whereas with the rough bump, if you can engage that trough, and even if you're right on the edge of it, you could still end up with a hole-in-one. Very hole-in-one-able hole. I mean, it's not like every time you come here, you're going to get a hole-in-one, but we have serious chances on hole number 8. Hole number 9. All right. Hole number 9 is hole number 3. This is the one I put 2 different videos in here of hole number 3. One of them, like I said, was in practice, and first time I played in a long time, and ended up on it too. I missed my putt so my opponent could catch up because we were practicing. And then the last time was in the weekend round, or the final round of the Glen Monarch Estate 9-hole cup, and had to scramble a little bit. So what I mean by scrambling is that where you want to be, you don't need to get all the way over here, but you want to get pretty close to the rough right here in the fairway. And what happened to me was I clipped the rough right here and I dribbled off. So I was on the back side of this fairway pad, not the front. And you want to be on the front hand side. So to get to the front hand side, there's a bunch of different ways that you can do it. And I'm going to explore some of these this week as well, because there's a lot of different ways that you can play this hole depending on what you want to bring out for ball. So you may be able to bring out a power 5 ball and push yourself far enough forward that you can get one bounce here and your second bounce here, and you can engage a little bit of backspin and just kind of stick it up there. That would be the safest way to do it. The other way is you might be able to bring a power 5 ball, and especially now that they've got the extra mile 9, if you got an extra mile 9, or if you got an APOC 5. But you could also try and do it. It's kind of hard to do it with an extra mile 8 because you'll end up getting caught in this rough, but you may be able to overpower it and bleed it all the way over and end up in this fairway. And that would be golden, because from there, probably with a Sniper, Guardian, any long iron, any wood in your bag, you can probably just get up on the green. The shot that I traditionally take on this, but I'm going to explore my options, because since the last time this was out in a tournament, my clubs have gotten better and they've buffed a bunch of clubs. And we have the Prism chest, which has helped us get our clubs up in level. The way I traditionally play it is with a Titan and a power 3 ball. And the Titan works because of the markers. There is a marker out here. There's a little post marker. So I don't know if you're out in the field, traditionally, if you're out on a regular golf course, there's like one at 100 and there's one at 150. And so you can see these markers and kind of see where you're at. So there's a marker that's out here. And that marker is key to my game on this hole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out here with an extra mile on a Titan. And I'm going to put on about 3.5 backs, or 3.5 top spin. 3.5, and it's real tight right there. No more than that, not really. I mean, you might be able to get away with it with a little teeny bit less than 3, but it better not be very much less. And the angle here, the last few times we've had this in a tournament, the wind was blowing off in this direction. So typically off of the tee box, I want to aim right towards the end of that sand. And the narrowest part here is right here, right where that yellow line is. So I want to aim off here and let the wind push me over to the narrow spot, and I'll put a little bit of curl on it to try and straighten it up so that when I'm hitting this area, instead of hitting it like this on this trajectory, I'm trying to come in like this so that I've made this shorter. So I want to make this as short as I possibly can when I come over it so that I can get one bounce here, one bounce on the other side, and then run forward and end up terminating somewhere out in this area. I don't want to flirt with this rough. Okay, I'd like to end up, if we cut this in half, I want to end up on this half of it. I'd really like to end up like at the 3/4 mark. And where I was in the second video is I was at the 1/4 mark, and it doesn't look like it's a lot, but that's a ton. So the drive shot here is one that you definitely have to practice, and we're going to have a lot of options based on the ball inventory that you have in your bag. This is why I played some Tour 5 one-on-one today with my low-level account, and somebody was out there and they were shooting Tour 5 with Power 5 balls, and they replayed me. I think they used that Power 5 ball twice. I think they replayed me twice, and they used the Power 5 ball, and I was like cringing because this is a hole right here that if you've got lower developed stuff, you may be able to work out a really good shot with that Power 5 ball, and it might help you out so you don't have to do max overpower in order to get over to this fairway area. So hoard those balls until the tournaments, because you never know what you'll need on these tournaments. And when you get out here, I mean, the difference between being able to get eagle on this hole and not being able to get eagle could just simply be a Power 5 ball. But you can get it done with a Titan, and you can get it done with lower developed clubs. Okay? Because you only need about 3.5 topspin. And with a little bit lower developed clubs, you might have to put on just a little teeny bit more topspin because you're losing some distance, but that's not really going to hurt you on the other side. So what is this hole? This is a birdie hole. And what are we trying to get? We're trying to get eagles, because I cannot stand par 5s in Golf Clash where I'm accepting birdie as my minimum score. That's BS. But this is a birdie hole, I will tell you that. But we're trying to get eagle. And here's the deal. This is one shot at a time, because if you can end up out in that area and you bring a big dog and you have a Titan and you put on about 3 topspin and max right side spin, and you aim right at that little marker that I told you was out there, and you aim right at it where your ball guide's going over it. If the wind is blowing with us, you can probably leave the wind in. If the wind's blowing any other way than with us, take the wind out. And the deal is you'll have to adjust your spot. So if you take the wind out, because the wind's a constant, because of the way that we do the tournaments, the wind's a constant. So if the wind's blowing from this direction, take the wind out, set it up along that ball guide, take the wind out, take your shot. If you find out that you're too far on the inside, then when you set it up on that line, move it over 1 ring. Take the wind out, take the shot. You're still too far on the inside. Put it 2 rings off that ball guide. Take the wind out and work your way to the fairway, because this wind's a constant. If we can take that out of the deal and take it out of the equation, then that means that it's a pure setup shot. And this is where me and Dale Appleby disagree, because we both love max overpower hook shots, but we both set them up totally different. He will leave the wind in and do the anticipation of where the wind's going to go. And here's my problem with that. One time you get a 3.2 wind, and the next time you get a 4.8 wind. Okay. And you left the wind in. Okay. You got a 1.6 swing here. So that means that you're going to get, what's going to happen out here is different because of this. But if we take the wind out and can work out where we set our shot up out here on this pole, then we can make this consistent. So if you're out here, you're aiming towards that pole, take the wind out, you got about 3 top spin, maximum right hand side spin, and you do a max overpower hook shot with your big dog, you will end up on the green, make your putt, get your eagle, and roll. And that is an eagle shot that anybody, even with lower developed clubs, can get with a 3 power ball, because everybody gets that big dog really quick, and that big dog gets to 180 real quick, and it's got great curl real quick. And so you may find with your level club that you're doing this, and like I said, maybe you're ending up out here. That means you need to move it in a couple rings. Maybe you're in here. Maybe you need to move it out a ring or two, and keep dialing that in so that you can find out that, hey, I aim at the pole, I move it over 1 ring, I take out the wind, and bam, I'm right down the middle, and it gets on the green. So this is a shot that you have to practice. So those people that are online, they're like, all you guys do is practice and work these shots out and stuff. Well, duh. Hello, McFly. That's why we practice. That's why the pros go out and practice on Wednesday. They get to go out on the course and they practice and they take some shots, and their caddy's out there. What do you think their caddy carries around a notebook? You think they just wing it when they get out there? It always cracks me up. Practice. If you want to get good at this game, it always cracks me up when people complain about, well, you shot a 35, you're just a sandbagger. Hey, dude, could you have, if Tommy gave you his clubs, could you have shot a 35 with no practice? The answer in most of those cases is going to be no. Well, then what's the deal? You got to practice. You got to take some notes. You got to study these holes a little bit. That's people who do that stuff are the ones that end up with better finishes. That's why you guys are watching the videos. Thank you very much. And we want to try and get an eagle on this hole. So like I said, I put 2 different shots on here. One where I was in the front and got the shot the way I wanted, and one where I was in the back and I had to scramble, and where I ended up was up at the top here and had to do the pitch on. I gave you a couple different ways to look at that. But we can get that done with an extra mile, par 3 ball, big dog, big dog. So let's go think about what our minimums are here. Really, the honest truth is that this course is our minimum, our base minimum score on any course is always -12. And this hole right here actually makes this a -11, because there's no gimmies on the par 3s. While we have a great opportunity on all 3 par 4s to get an eagle, they're not gimmies. So really the minimum score is -11, because this is going to be a hole that most people, the majority of people, are going to come out to this hole and they're going to get a birdie on it. And I think that with the 3 par 3s and this hole right here, that we should be, as you know, my viewers, our goal is to try and pick up 2 of those on every side, and then those par 3s are gravy on top of it. So we're looking at -13 as like what my target, my minimum target goal should be, and then I'm trying to build upon that. But as the week goes on, we want to find the par 4 and the par 3 and those ones that you've got those great shots on, that you can set yourself up the best. And the thing I like about the par 4s is that even if you've got lower developed clubs, you can get yourself into your Kingfisher range, and your Kingfisher is a super accurate short iron that has great ball guide. And so you have just as good a chance as somebody with upper developed clubs because of that Kingfisher. So you can get an eagle on all 3 of those par 4s by setting yourself up to get yourself into that short iron range. But I really think that, this, to be honest, that we're probably in the -11. This isn't going to be one of those super high scoring tournaments, but it could be, because we've got 2 par 3s that are hole-in-oneable. And we've got 3 par 4s that are eagleable. And the par 5s here, while they're difficult, the par 5s do give you an opportunity for Albie. So, I mean, there are a ton of opportunities here to pick shots up. And like I said, my focus is really going to be on making sure that I can try and get eagles. I want to end up my round with 6 eagles minimum. Well, I mean, I want to get eagles on the par 5s, but I mean, on those par 4s, I want to end my par 4s with 6 eagles. And so this realistically is the minimum score. But I think as a group, this is what I'm trying to shoot for to help you guys get, is this -13 as your minimum so that you can build upon that. I think in the weekend round, You know, if you come into the weekend round with a minus 11, minus 22, and then you even shot the minus 22, this is going to be one of those types of tournaments. It's not going to be, you're not going to see 36s. You may see something big because somebody may go out there and pop off all the par fours and get the hole-in-ones on the par threes and get an Albie on one of those par fives. But this isn't going to be like the Community Cup where in the weekend round, I shot 4 Albies in the weekend round. That's not, I don't see that happening. I mean, it's possible, but I don't see that happening because these par fives are a little bit more difficult. And there is an opportunity to get some really good scores on this by picking up those eagles. You know, if you're talking about in a round, that's 6 eagles. That's big. That's big. That turns that minus 11 into a minus 14. That's a minus 28. So as the week goes on, we'll see kind of where people are shooting and how the course is playing and where the wind's going on, what kind of scores are achievable. But really at the beginning of the week, be focusing on somewhere between minus 11 and minus 13 is what you want as your base score. And get that in the bag so that you can close your eyes, shoot the minus 11, minus 12, minus 13 with your eyes closed, and really the minus 11. You want to be able to shoot the minus 11 with your eyes closed, and then we'll start building on that. All right, that was I think I talked, that was an hour. Man, sorry about that. All right, that was the just kind of a walkthrough for the 2020 St. Patrick's Day tournament. Thanks for watching. And if you're not a subscriber, please hit subscribe. I'm trying to get over 600 viewers this week. So if you're in a clan and they need help, promote me in the clan, and I appreciate it. Everybody out there I love all my viewers. You guys are great. And let's see if we can get over 600 this week. Thank you.